finished my last full coverage cross stitch piece. This is the one I just completed. It is ready to go to the framers. I am really pleased with how this turned out. It is just absolutely stunning. If you're interested in learning how I do full coverage cross stitch and how to get really pretty uniform stitches like this, check out my earlier videos where I go through in detail over the course of about 4 or 5 videos my specific process for getting really pretty regular stitches, which gives you a product like this. I'm really happy with that. So anyways, I'm done with this and I am ready for my next project. And I have selected the Dimensions kit from the Gold Collection. It's called Paris Market. I'm very fortunate. I've been to Paris a few times. I absolutely love being there. And this seems like a really good project to work on in the rainy winter months, stitching lots of pretty flowers and markets and so on. It's a pretty big kit. It's 15 by 11. I did the math. It's 52,000 stitches. So this I anticipate will take me well over a year, probably more like 2 or 3, because I do rotations, so I don't just work exclusively on one project at a time. So I'm going to show you how I go about kitting up a project that already has floss and fabric with it. So Dimensions kits are really nice. They come with all of their floss on these cards, already pre-cut. There's more. These are full skeins. So I need to figure out how to organize all of this. I really focus on my setting up my projects so that I spend the majority of my time stitching, so putting needle through fabric, as opposed to all the other fiddly things like looking for colors, threading needles, winding bobbins, all the rest of that. I really dislike doing that. I want to maximize my stitching time. So that's my that's the driving force behind how I set up my projects. So how to organize the floss. There's actually a couple of ways that you can do it. That previous project that I just showed you, I actually used Loran cards. There's 15 color per each. You just put the symbol on and then put your floss through the holes. I often use the 3 on the back too. These are great for organizing your floss. They're very portable. They don't break. I would stay probably 2, maybe 3 cards is the most I would use at once. Anything more than that, and you're just going to end up having to flip through cards looking for the color that you need. So I think the last street project I just showed you, it used about 1 3/4 cards, and that worked beautifully. But I would not go over 3. The other thing that I used with this was a needle organizer, because I use the parking method, and I keep my needles threaded when I park. I need a place to put all of my threaded needles when they're not in use, and so I use one of these needle organizers. You write the symbol on the little paper strip, and then you just insert it in there, and then when you have your threaded needle, you just put it into whichever symbol hole that you need it to be in. So this works very nicely, this system right here, these two together. Unless you have above about 30, 35 colors, and then it becomes a little bit cumbersome. This kit that I'm about to start has 45 colors, so that's a little too much for the Paco cards, I think. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the Paco thread organizer. It works on the same principle. It has the little, you write your symbols on the card and slide it in. you take your floss and hook it on the little peg, and then just slide it in between the little two foam pieces, and then you just use your needle and you can just pick out one thread and just pull it out. The rest will stay behind. The nice thing about this is that there's a bit of foam right behind where the threads are, and so you can use this both as a thread organizer and as a needle organizer together. So I really like that part of it. Now, looking at my key for this project, like I said, there's about 45 colors. We've got full cross, half cross. We've got some blended colors here. There's 3 blended colors. There's some back stitch. There's some French knots. The thing that's different from what I've done before is that the number of strands changes. So most of the full crosses are 2 strands, but there's a single strand. There's another single strand right here. Whereas with the half crosses, there are 3 strands. And there's a couple in here that are 2. So that's another little bit of organization that I need to think about how I'm going to set this up. So because my drawing skills are terrible and these are all in color and they're pretty small, I went over to Office Depot and I had them enlarge it a little bit and photocopy it onto cardstock. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut out each one of these little symbols, and I'm going to paste them on the little card strip. I'm also going to sort them by number of strands. So I'm going to put the 1 strand full crosses together. So they'll go together next to each other. And then I'll do the 2 strand full cross stitch. I'll probably skip a spot. I'll have enough room on the organizer. And then I'll have all of the half crosses together, and I will sort those by the 2 strand half cross first, and then followed by the 3 strand. For the blended colors, which are these 3, what I'm going to do is not put the actual threads onto the spike of my organizer. I'm just going to have the symbol there. So if I have a needle that has that blended color already on it, I can just park that. But I'm not going to put the actual threads there. These threads are out of here. There's a bit of plastic that's visible right here. So I'm probably going to use a Sharpie or something to mark the actual plastic as to, like on those blended colors, I might use like a blue or red Sharpie and just put a single dot for the 2 colors so that I don't have to keep looking it up. So come up with some sort of color code so that I know which of the 2 colors I need to pull for those blended colors. So that's my current setup. So I need to cut all of these out, paste them on here. The other thing about it is it's 18 count fabric. So it came with a nice piece of Aida, which I'm not going to use because I always use gridded fabric. So I went over to my local shop, Acorns and Threads, and got some 18 count easy count. So I'm just going to cut this down to size and use this instead. I really, really like using gridded fabric. I will never use any other kind of fabric for full coverage because it makes counting so much easier, and it also results in far fewer mistakes. So again, with my goal being maximizing my actual needle through fabric, stitching time, and minimizing all the other fiddly things that come with our craft. Having a gridded fabric makes a huge difference. If you don't have access to easy count, you can use Silky Sliver, which is a metallic thread. It comes in varying colors, and you can sew in a grid. For this pattern, it would probably take me about 2 hours to do that. It's really not that complicated. It works beautifully. I would not use anything else except for Silky Sliver. I've seen people using fishing line, but that's like really pokey and kind of unpleasant to touch, so I don't particularly like that. I've done a project where I gridded with Silky Sliver and it worked great and it comes out fantastically. So if you don't have access to easy count, then grid with Silky Sliver. Be very, very careful with water soluble markers. Those things eventually will come and bite you on the butt. They've done it to me. I had a beautiful project that was almost ruined because my grid lines came back a couple of weeks after it was framed. Luckily, I was able to get rid of them, but it was a stressful few days of wondering whether my entire project was gone because of those lines. So I will never, ever, ever go near a project with those water soluble markers again, because that was just that was too stressful. If it's gonna be covered with the frame, fine. If it's gonna get cut off, obviously that's fine. But even on a full coverage piece where it would be covered up, I guess I'm just paranoid now. And since I can just do this, it's an easy solution. So I will come back and show you what everything looks like once it's all set up. So my Paco organizer is all done and ready to go with all of my floss sorted. You can see all of my symbols that I've pasted on. You'll see it's a little bit shiny because I covered that entire paper strip in a piece of packing tape because I was a little worried that when I was sliding it in with those pasted on symbols that it would bend or tear or something. And this worked really well. You can see that I braid the tails of all of my floss. That really helps keep things from tangling when I'm pulling individual strands of floss out. I'll probably have to redo them in 6 to 8 months because they will get kind of messy after a while, but it really does keep the tangles to a minimum. Plus it makes for some pretty color combinations. I stitch using a Millennium frame, and I actually use this groove in the back that is on all of these frames. I use it to hold my iPad. So what I've done is I've just tied a piece of ribbon on the back post, and then I use a Loran chart holder. This thing is metal, and it fits perfectly into that groove. And then on the back at the top, I just put one of those adhesive hooks. And so what I do is I put the hook to the back. So it's on the back like that. And when I tip it back, I just grab this ribbon. I have to bend this thing a little bit to hook that ribbon on. And I do that so that it doesn't flop forward now. It's nice and secure. And that's where I put my iPad. And because iPads are magnetic, they stick to that magnetic board perfectly. And so this is my setup. I have my Easy Count fabric ready to go. I've got my floss all sorted and ready. And now I've got my iPad with my digitized chart. And so I'm ready to start stitching tomorrow morning. So this is how I set up for a full coverage kit. And I hope you found this helpful.